All right, today we are diving into one of the wildest, most important, and honestly kind of forgotten moments in early American history. We're talking about the Whiskey Rebellion. Yep, a story all about taxes, booze, and a brand new country that was, believe it or not, on the verge of falling apart. Let's get into it.
So just listen to this. This right here, this quote, it drops you right into the middle of the whole mess. This is the voice of a super angry farmer in the 1790s. I mean, think about it. You just fought a whole war over taxes, and now this new government that you helped create is coming after your most valuable stuff. You can just feel the anger, right? The sense of betrayal was real.
So, how did things get so heated? Well, to really get why everyone was so mad, you have to rewind a little bit and look at the absolute financial disaster the United States was in right after the Revolutionary War. To put it simply, the country was flat broke. I mean, beyond broke. After years and years of war, the U.S. had a debt so huge it was staggering. We're talking about a financial crisis that was so bad, it seriously threatened to sink the whole American experiment before it even got started. Okay, so the country's in a financial hole. Now we get to the controversial plan for how to get out of it. And this brings a major player to the stage, Alexander Hamilton, and his big idea to put a tax on, you guessed it, liquid gold.
So, in walks Alexander Hamilton. This guy's got a seriously bold plan. He says, look, the federal government is going to take on all the debt from every single state. Now, this wasn't just some accounting move. It was a power play to make the central government stronger. But to pay off this giant new national debt, he needed cash, and he needed it fast. His solution? A brand new federal tax on something Americans loved, whiskey.
And right here, this is the heart of the whole problem. You see, the government, Hamilton's crew, they saw whiskey as a luxury. Something extra, a perfect thing to tax. But for the farmers out in western Pennsylvania, no way. Whiskey was everything. It was basically their money. It was way easier to turn your green into whiskey to ship it over the mountains and trade. It wasn't a luxury. It was literally their paycheck. So you can probably guess what happened next. The farmers were not happy about a tax on their livelihood. Protests started almost immediately, and things got violent fast. And this wasn't just about money, It went deeper. It was this feeling of being totally disrespected and ripped off. These guys on the frontier felt like the fancy politicians back east were just looking down on them, treating them like fools to be exploited. And they were absolutely determined to fight back. And things escalated so quickly. I mean, check this out. It starts with protests, pretty standard stuff, but then it gets way more intense. Tax collectors start getting ambushed, tarred, and feathered, which is a seriously brutal thing to do to someone. By 1794, this is not a protest anymore. It's a full-blown insurrection. The whole thing explodes when a mob of 500 armed guys attacks and burns down a tax inspector's house. So now the brand new United States is facing its first huge test from within. President George Washington realizes he has to do something big, something decisive, or this new country could literally crumble before his eyes. Washington's first move was to try and calm things down. He puts out this official proclamation, which was basically him saying, all right, everybody, chill out, go home. But the rebels, they weren't having it. They completely ignored the president and doubled down. Okay, so his authority has been totally challenged. The rebellion is growing. Washington knows he has to make a statement. And what he does next is, well, it's something no president has ever done since. He actually puts his old military uniform back on, gets on his horse, and takes personal command of an army of 13,000 men. He then marches them toward western Pennsylvania. To give you some perspective, that army was almost as big as the entire Continental Army he led against the British in the Revolution. This was a sitting president leading troops to put down a rebellion of his own citizens. Just wow. So, you've got this massive federal army on the march, led by George Washington himself. The stage is set for an epic, bloody battle, right? Well, what happened next was not what anyone expected. As soon as the rebels got word that it wasn't just some general, but the legend, George Washington, leading this huge army their way, their courage just vanished. The rebellion basically evaporated. Poof! The massive show of force was enough. There was no big battle. Faced with that kind of power, most of the rebels just took off and fled. So, what happened after that? Well, the main leaders of the rebellion just disappeared into the frontier. A few guys got arrested, and only 2 were actually convicted of treason. But then, in a final move that showed both the government's power and its mercy, President Washington pardoned both of them. But here's the real takeaway. This is the crucial point of the whole story. By personally leading an army to crush this rebellion, Washington set a powerful precedent. He proved with zero doubt that this new federal government wasn't a suggestion. It had the power and the will to enforce its laws, even if it meant using force against its own people. So, let's wrap this all up. After all that, the tax, the tar and feathers, the threat of the country splitting apart, what are the actual lessons we can take away from this absolutely wild chapter of American history? What did we learn? Maybe it's just, hey, don't mess with a guy's breakfast drink. Or maybe it's that if you tell Americans not to do something, that's the one thing they're definitely going to do. Or, maybe there's no grand lesson at all, and we're all just a bunch of dumb, stinky idiots. Who knows? What we do know is that the Whiskey Rebellion was a massive test for the young United States, and the way it ended helped cement the power of the federal government for good.
Subscribe to our channel.